Let's talk about cables and connectors. So the most common ones, I'm just going to show you on the camera here. Let's go with the two most common ones we use on our mixer board. Okay, so you might say that that is a microphone cable, microphone connectors. That is correct, but as I had mentioned before, XLR is the more professional term. We call them plug and socket ends in this class. This plug end, and I'm hoping it's actually showing you in focus, this plug end has pins, 3 pins. Socket end has 3 holes, and it plugs in like that. Plugs into the microphone. Very typically, almost every microphone I've ever seen, I think, the socket end is the end that plugs in the microphone because the microphone has the pins. Okay? XLR connectors. This is the 1/4 inch connector, TRS Tip Ring Sleeve. Okay? So tip ring sleeve are the actual conductors. They are all connecting to a wire that goes down the cable. And just quickly, if it's tip ring sleeve, there's 3 conductors. They call that balanced. If you don't have the ring section, if it's not married, then it is a mono connector and it is unbalanced. So you would just have one full section here that is 1 conductor and then the tip. So you can't send a stereo signal down a mono connector or a TS or tip ring sleeve. Now here's the reason why I talk about stereo. You guys all have this one because you use this for your earbuds, or at least you used to. A lot of things are going Bluetooth, but these are for headphones if they connect to like a phone or some, iPod or something. And this is still a TRS, but this is an 1/8 inch. But because it has that ring there, it'll send a different signal to your left and right ears. This is the plug end. That's the socket end. Again here, plug end, socket end. Okay, so you got the 1/4 inch and the 1/8 inch. By the way, which is a better connector, the 1/4 inch or the 1/8 inch? If you guess the 1/4 inch, you're right, because it has more surface space, more contact. It'll give you a little better signal. But we use these a ton, don't we? I just don't use them in professional audio very much. I want a signal coming from a guitar with as much surface contact as possible to get that signal in as robust and clean as possible. But I listen on headphones all the time on these, right? That's how you know if you have a professional headphone system too, by the way. Professional headphones will have the 1/4 inch as opposed to the 1/8 inch. By the way, I also didn't say this. One of them is 3.5 millimeters and one of them is 7 millimeters. Obviously, 3.5 millimeters, twice as large, 7 millimeters. Also, when I said 1/8 inch and 1/4 inch, you could say these are 1/8 inch and this is 1/4 inch. It's just not very professional. Everybody says 1/8 inch and 1/4 inch. Okay, let's do this one and then we'll kind of look on the board and see what else we've got. So if you've got a cable that uses these, and they're often like red and white or red, white, and yellow, they are RCA connectors. You don't see these as much anymore, but maybe you've got an old game console at home or something that still connects with these. The yellow is for video. The red and the white are for audio, so that's all we'll care about right now. And typically we say red, right, white for left. So if you remember red, right, that's what you always use for the right signal, and if it does have a red or a white on your input device, you know you plug red corresponding with red and white corresponding with white. RCA connectors. Also, they have their plugs. Now let's look up on the screen. And these are adapters. They adapt from one form to another. So I'm going to show you what you see right here. Is you see an 1/8 inch and a 1/4 inch in this one. That's an 1/8 inch plug. It adapts from a 1/4 inch cable though. So I can plug a 1/4 inch cable into this adapter and have it come out 1/8 inch. If I have a professional set of headphones, I don't have an 1/8 inch, but if I'm plugging into a phone, I've got to adapt So I adapt from my professional headphones that have a 1/4" TRS stereo balanced connector, and I adapt down, sizing it, right, to an 1/8" so I can plug it into my phone or iPod or whatever. Let's see, how about we pick another one? Actually, this is an interesting one. This takes, in fact, that's basically what this is. This takes 2 down to 1, or 1 up to 2. That's what essentially this is. So you can send, you can hook up 2 professional headphones out of 1 jack. So my mixing board only has 1 jack, 1 socket, but I can actually adapt so 2 people can be listening to 2 sets of headphones. How about RCA to something? That's an RCA that adapts to 2 RCAs. That's kind of odd. There we go. Okay, so that RCA is a socket. So I come out of my plug RCA into the socket RCA into 1/8". This 1/8" doesn't happen to have a ring on it, so that it is an unbalanced 1/8", and I wouldn't be able to hear stereo left and right. It would just be 1 signal instead of 2. Okay, enough on adapters. Let's see if you know your connectors. There's a few up there we haven't talked about. You learned this one, XLR. That's an 1/8". That's the small one, remember. 1/8". If you have twice the size of an 1/8", or a 3.5 millimeter, what do you have? A 1/4". And then again, it shows TS or TRS. Interesting, in this particular one, they don't show just a TS 1/8". They're pretty rare, because almost all 1/8" are used for like little headphones. RCA, you learned. But what about all the way over here? Did you learn about this? Well, you already know USBs come in various sizes and shapes. There's like 6 or 7 at least different kinds of USBs. USB A, B, C, etc. And then FireWire is not really used very much anymore. I don't even talk about it on that chart, but sometimes when you're connecting like MIDI instruments, like a keyboard or some other interface, a digital interface of some kind to a computer, it can still use FireWire, which is really for Apple more than anything. So sometimes if you're on a Mac or you go to a recording studio, you might see a FireWire connector, very similar to USB. I should just make you fill all this out on your own now. Number 1, a 1/4" connector is used for professional headphones. Therefore, an 1/8" connector is used for consumer headphones. And I ask you there, how many millimeters is 1/8"? Because all the rest of the world, there's like 2 places in the whole world that hasn't converted to metric, and the United States is one of them. So anywhere else you go, you can't say, can I get an 8? So you're traveling Europe and you lose your headphones. You go into a store and say, can I get an 1/8" headphones? What are you talking about? Okay, 3.5 millimeter. Number 3, RCA connectors use the color red for right and white for left. Like I say, it's really easy to remember, red, right. An XLR connector is most commonly used for microphones. So this time I don't make you spell out XLR, I make you spell out microphones. But not always. A lot of professional equipment connects via XLRs, not just microphones. Sometimes you're connecting to speakers with microphone cable, XLR connectors. TRS stands for, I'm trying to come up with something funny here. Tie Rang 7. No, it doesn't. It stands for Tip Ring Sleeve. If the connector does not have a ring, it is TS and can only send a mono signal. So TS is tip sleeve. A lot of connectors are like that, but there are also a lot of stereo connectors. A cable that has 3 wires is called balanced. A cable that has 2 wires is called unbalanced. And that's such an odd term, but I'm going to play you a video that helps to explain what that means.
Unbalanced audio is seen most often in consoles, signal processing units, small stereo systems, and consumer audio equipment. On stage, it's used in guitar and keyboard signal chains where shorter cable lengths are used. Unbalanced cable consists of one positive lead surrounded by a ground. The signal travels down the positive lead while the ground absorbs most of the interference. Balanced audio is more applicable in professional studios or live venues where longer cable runs are required. Balanced cables consist of a positive lead, a negative lead, and a ground. The positive and negative leads both carry audio. The negative carries the signal in opposite polarity to the positive lead. Both leads will pick up interference, but since the negative is opposite polarity of the positive, the interference will be canceled out. The ground serves as extra protection from unwanted interference. Balanced is more commonly used in professional applications for several reasons. First, balanced cable can be run for longer lengths than unbalanced. The preferred cable length for unbalanced is only 10 feet, while the maximum cable length for balanced is 1,000 feet. Second, balanced cable often has a cleaner signal as the interference is canceled out.
And then the abbreviation of musical instrument digital interface. What is that? So that's what an old MIDI cable looks like. It has 5 pins and kind of a little groove there. That might actually be a conductor too, for all I know. And it sends signals, digital signals, that give you a lot of control. We actually have what they call 127 controllers. We don't talk a lot about MIDI in this particular audio class, but there could be a whole class, a whole semester just on MIDI. Easily. MIDI is really deep. It's like learning software that is really deep. It's probably 3 times learning what Microsoft Excel will do. Okay, the 2 ends of the connector are plug and socket. That gets you through that whole section on cables and connectors. Hope you know your stuff, and I can call out to you, hey, can you bring me a 1/4-inch TRS? And you can go to our wall where we have all of our cables and go grab one and bring it to me.